Hello students. Um, so hopefully you understand some of the important topic about congenital heart defect. Today we are going to see about overall outlook of congenital heart defects and the common causes and some of the common signs and symptoms and some of the common diagnostic evaluations, and last we are going to see regarding nursing management, or we can able to say nursing diagnosis and intervention. So moving on to the congenital heart defect. What is congenital heart defect? Congenital heart defect means heart defect, a problem that occurred as the baby's, particularly the fetus, heart was developing during pregnancy before the baby is born. If still the problem present after the birth, which indicates congenital heart defect. The heart defect, the problem occurred as the baby's heart was developing during pregnancy before the baby is born. Congenital heart defects are the most common birth defects. What may be the causes for this one? The common causes are, first one is exactly the reason behind this one unknown, 90%, but we can able to see some say some associated factors. Due to them there may be possibility are there. So over the factors, if you are saying fetal and maternal infection during first trimester, rubella. Then second one, you are saying mothers maternal insulin dependent diabetes, or you can able to say that mother with chronic disease conditions, not only diabetes, the mother is having cancer, the mother is having cardiovascular problems, mother is having CNS problems, like we can able to say epilepsy. So in those cases, more possibility are there for congenital defects. The next, if you are going on, tetragonic effect of drugs and alcohol. Tetragonic effect of drugs and alcohol. If you are saying tetragonic effect, we already know that very well. If you are taking the side effects or the adverse effects of certain drugs, which is particularly used for the chronic disease conditions, that will affect the developing fetus. The next, chromosomal abnormalities. Chromosomal abnormalities, if you are saying trisomy 21, 18, and 13, etc. So due to this abnormal chromosomes, the gene mutations, that will lead to possibility of the neural tube defect development because of the needed required chromosomal factors were missing. So due to that, the cardiovascular problem, not only cardiovascular, along with the some other defects also will present. Moving on to the classification or common congenital heart defects. If I am saying in this classification, I have divided into three categories. That is increased pulmonary blood flow. That is we can also call as aortic congenital heart disease. Second one is decreased pulmonary blood flow. That we can also call as cyanotic congenital heart disease or defects. Sorry, defects. The next we are moving to the obstruction to blood flow. Obstruction to blood flow. So next we are moving to the increased pulmonary blood flow. If you are seeing about, we can say it as the left to right shunt lesions were present. So first one is patent ductus arteriosus, arterial atrial septal defect, ventricular septal defect, and atrioventricular canal defects. And decreased pulmonary blood flow, we saw about tricuspid atresia, pulmonary atresia, then transposition of great arteries, then tetralogy of Fallot. Then obstruction to blood flow, coarctation of aorta, aortic stenosis, and pulmonary stenosis. We had each and one example or one important topic from each and every category. Like we had saw PDA, atrial septal defect, ventricular septal defect. Then we saw about tetralogy of Fallot. Then we saw about pulmonary stenosis. Moving on to the common clinical manifestation. If you are taking all this one, we lead to the common, some of the common clinical manifestation. That is congestive heart failure, which is overall common for all the factors. If heart fails to function properly, then that tachypnea, then frequent respiratory tract infections, then poor weight gain, failure to thrive, feeding difficulties, decreased exercise tolerance. These are all the factors which is having relation with the oxygen as well as the cardiac output. So here the functioning of the respiratory system as well as the cardiovascular system is overloaded due to the defect. Then moving on to the diagnostic evaluation. The common diagnostic evaluation, if you are saying physical examination. On auscultation, we will found that there will be continuous murmur sound will be heard. So On auscultation, we will hear some continuous murmur sound. It may be at the upper sternal border, it may be at the lower sternal border, it may be at the medial one. So it depends on the defects where it is exactly located. And second one is chest X-ray. Chest X-ray is going to show us the enlargement of the heart, or there may be variation in the size of the heart. Then some of the marking like pulmonary marking were present, then valvular stenosis marking will be present, so that will be easily identified in the chest X-ray. Then ECG will be always having the ECG reading will be varies, that excessively it may be ventricular fibrillation, or it may be atrial fibrillations, or it may be the variations in the rhythm of the next echocardiogram, one of the two-dimensional echocardiogram with a Doppler study, color flow mapping. This will help us to visualize clearly the problem, where the problem is present, exactly what is the size of it, and exactly what are the layers or chambers involved in this one. Clearly we can able to identify. The next, cardiac catheterization. This is not for a diagnostic purpose, but we can able to use for the dual purpose diagnosis as well as for a treatment, where surgical treatments are not necessary. With the help of cardiac catheterization, we can able to place a device, occlusion device or coil, we can able to place to solve the problem. For the purpose we can able to use. So these are the some of the common factors we can able to write for all the congenital heart defects. So moving on to the nursing care plan for congestive cardiac defects or disease. So nursing care plan, over the nursing care plan, here I am going to divide it into nursing diagnosis and intervention. The first diagnosis and intervention are impaired gas exchange related to altered pulmonary blood flow or pulmonary congestions. First one is impaired gas exchange related to pulmonary blood flow or pulmonary congestions. So here position the child in semi-upright position. Then suction nasal and oral secretion. Administer oxygen as ordered or prescribed. Then administer prescribed medication as ordered and document the response. Like example, diuretics has been administered. Then bronchodilator has been administered. Then intake and output has been maintained. Then may need to be change oral feeding to nasogastric feeding because of increased risk of aspiration, particularly in case of infants. So this will be more common nursing diagnosis as well as the common intervention. So first intervention is we are using upright, semi-upright position, then suctioning of nasal and oral secretions, then oxygen administration, then medication administration like the diuretics and bronchodilators to reduce the secretion level. Then we are changing, or if ordered, oral feeding has to be changed to nasogastric feeding because of risk of aspiration. And the second one is decreased cardiac output related to structural defect or decreased myocardial functioning. Decreased cardiac output. First one is impaired gas exchange. Second one is decreased cardiac output. So here monitor vital signs closely, especially BP and heart rate. Then monitor cardiac rhythm via cardiac monitor. Then observe for signs of hypoxia such as tachypnea, cyanosis, tachycardia or bradycardia, then restlessness. Observe for signs of hypoxia such as tachypnea, cyanosis, tachycardia or bradycardia, restlessness. Then administer oxygen as needed and ordered. Then place the child in knee, chest or squatting position. Administer medication as prescribed, particularly diuretics and dioxins. So this is more common interventions for the decreased cardiac output. So what are the what we have to do? We have to monitor the vital signs, particularly BP and pulse rate or heart rate. Then second, we want to see the cardiac rhythm. Then third one, you want to check for hypoxia, then tachypnea, cyanosis, tachycardia, bradycardia, restlessness. Then administer oxygen as needed and ordered. Then place the child in knee chest position, which help the child to increase the cardiac output by bringing forward the positioning where the circulation will become faster and nearby. The next, administer medication as prescribed diuretics and detoxins, which help for the cardiac functioning, which support the cardiac function as well as help the kidney to remove the waste product to balance the electrolyte. The next, Excess fluid volume related to ineffective myocardial functioning. Excess fluid volume related to ineffective myocardial functioning. Mainly, there will be a possibility of there if any chamber which was excessively overloaded and fails to push forward the blood to the furthermore proceeding parts, which fails to push forward, that leads to blood will get what we can tell, we can able to stagnate over the particular place and start to move towards the backflow. So there is more possibility are there, excess fluid will be accumulated due to the blood were having the backflow, as we saw in the pulmonary stenosis. Due to stenosis from the right ventricle, blood can't able to push towards the pulmonary artery. So due to that, what happened, right ventricle was full of blood which is present already. So excess amount of blood will flow on, right ventricle will get full and it start to become backflow, or it start to get not taking any other blood furthermore. So which will simultaneously reflect on the right atrium also. That will reflect on the superior and inferior vena cava. So automatically all the veins will carry the blood, which leads to excess fluid volume. So that will leads to edema. So here weigh the child daily, then monitor location and extent of edema, then protect edematous areas from skin breakdown, assess work of breathing and respiratory rate. The next, maintain fluid restriction as ordered to decrease intravascular volume and workload on the heart. Then strictly monitor intake and output. Provide sodium restriction diet as ordered. Then administer diuretics to remove the or to balance the fluid level. So this is the common nursing intervention. You want to weigh daily to know that whether the child is increasing weight or not. And second one, you want to monitor for the edema and the extent of edema from one place how far it has been extended. Day 1 in this area, day 2 it has extended further, day 3 it has extended further, and day 4 it was from mild to moderate to severe, which form it has been present. Then protect edematous area from skin breakdown. So they should not lying on same position. The position has to be changed frequently. Then if for example if extremities are having lower extremities having elevate the foot end, which helps to reduce the edematic level. Then assess work of breathing and respiratory rate to assess that fluid workload or overload has been affected, or any possibility or the affection over the respiratory tract also. Then maintain fluid restriction as ordered, because overload of already edema is present, fluid overload. Strictly monitor intake and output, which will help us to identify what about the fluid intake and what is the fluid output. Then provide sodium restriction as ordered. Administer diuretics. The next is activity intolerance related to hypoxia or decreased myocardial function. So over this activity intolerance related to hypoxia, decreased myocardial functioning, you can able to see that place pulse oximeter probe. By this we can able to continuously monitor the level. Then administer oxygen as ordered. Then assess response to oxygen therapy. Explain the child and parents how oxygen will help the child for the supporting cardiac functioning. The next other possible nursing diagnoses are ineffective tissue perfusion related to ineffective tissue perfusion related to inadequate cardiac functioning or cardiac surgery, as evidenced by pallor or cyanosis. Ineffective, I repeat, ineffective tissue perfusion, because tissues are not getting sufficient amount of oxygen. Okay, so that is a main reason, which is mainly related to the inadequate cardiac function or inadequate cardiac output. The next, imbalanced nutrition less than body requirement related to excessive energy demands required by increased cardiac workload. Imbalanced nutrition less than body requirements. The next, risk for infection. There is a high risk for infection related to need of multiple invasive procedure or chronic illness, or at the same time high risk for infection or prone to extend the infection from respiratory tract infection towards further systematic infections, where we have to be careful in these cases, where the child has to be followed. So these are the possible nursing diagnosis for the congestive cardiovascular or heart defects. Okay, so over this we are completing the common nursing management or nursing diagnosis and intervention. First one is impaired gas exchange. Second one is decreased cardiac output. Third one is excess fluid volume. Fourth one is activity intolerance. Fifth one is ineffective tissue perfusion. Sixth one is imbalanced nutrition. Then last one is risk for infection. Okay, so this is the common nursing diagnosis. Today's class we had saw related to congestive heart failure. Sorry, congenital heart defects. In this congenital heart defects, what are the common causes we saw, and what are the common diagnostic evaluation, common clinical manifestation, then classification of this. Over this, we had saw that increased pulmonary and decreased pulmonary and combination of both we had saw here, and last we had saw common nursing management. Thank you.